Hi, good afternoon. So my name is Astad, just to introduce myself again, and I lead talent acquisition at Experian down in Orange County. When Stacy was talking to me, the topic that I pitched is something that I have a lot of passion about. So I have been in HR for close to about 20 years. And I started my career actually in talent acquisition, and I've done a whole bunch of roles in HR, and I've come back to talent acquisition. And I'm one of those who chose to be in TA and come back into TA. And a lot of that passion was driven around the fact that I actually absolutely love being with people and teams. And that is going to be one of the things that has given me the most satisfaction. I also think that one of the challenges in TA is, besides the sales or the marketing team, we are the one team that is the most external facing in any organization that is ever out there. So I want to talk about just the evolution. So when we think about all the topics that we spoke about today, right? I always start with this one, right? Sometimes before we help everybody else in our organizations to become better, we've got to put the mask on ourselves and help ourselves, right? Every airline would start with that, right? First put on your own mask, then you can help everybody else. Now, when you think about what we've gone through today, right? We've heard everything. I mean, I heard about ADS systems, we've heard about technology, we've heard about bots, we've heard about marketing, we've heard about analytics. The part that I always feel that gets missed out in many of the TA discussions is about us as talent acquisition partners, and how we are probably the most critical function when it comes to keeping our organizations really operating smoothly through all the change that takes place. So I talk about this passionately because as much technology comes out, as many new ATS systems come out, as much of, as many cool, bots come out, and we can have every single thing in the room, it never takes away the need to have a really strong talent acquisition partner. And the good companies realize that, and they invest in their TA functions. And more often than not, you hear companies going, oh, I'm thinking of outsourcing my TA. And we saw that kind of a trend, I would say, probably about 6-7 years ago. And now we're seeing the reversal of saying, how can we make TA a competitive advantage for us? And I want to talk about a little bit of that journey that we played at Experian. So at Experian, we said, okay, what were we doing? What are we now? And where do we want to be? What we were, and this was maybe a couple of years ago, we were good recruiters. We waited for the business to tell us, this is the job that you want. We would go there, okay, let's start the process, let's do our standard intake meeting, let's post it up on the ADS, I'm going to manage all the process for you. Here are your 500 resumes, let's post and pray, see what comes out there, I'll send that back to you, and then you give me, I'll manage the interview process. If I manage to get a candidate within 40 days, my job is done. Now, and a lot of the conversations today were about how do we become great partners, right? How do we become people on the table who are with the business? We heard about Kathy today talking about that. We heard about Noel talking about that. There was just so much out there about saying that partnership of us being on the table with the business, not just a service provider. And I think we started to do that really well. Now we're starting to understand our talent segments. Now we're able to align with that. Now, I would say something which probably is very different from what Noel would say. I see a lot of people saying hurrah for the sourcers. But I actually think that managing a relationship with hiring managers and actually leading that conversation is as challenging as sourcing for good talent. I cannot tell you how many candidates that we have found which thought we were really good, but if you have no relationship with the business, or the business says, looks like a great profile, maybe keep him warm. And you're still sitting and keeping him warm 6 months later, right? So for me, that difference of being able to have that strong seat on the table and create that value to say, we need to act on this now, is something that a full cycle recruiter does. And we in Experian have been using a full cycle recruitment model for some time, and we've actually seen value that comes out of it. But our focus is more that future. What is that end point got to be? And we use a term called talent scout. Now, a scout is kind of a loosely based term. It's actually a term that I borrowed from somebody else, so, because no good idea ever came from me, which I did not hear at a conference, right? But the point was that if you think about a scout, and if you pardon the sports analogy, we've used that in baseball a lot of the time. Now, it's come back to saying, how are we scouts in our area? How are we keeping an eye out for that talent, but then also keeping that relationship back with the business? The one thing I've seen really good talent acquisition partners do, for example, and a really good scout do, is not only can they do a good assessment, but they can actually give great career advice. Some of the best career advice that I have got in my career has actually been through recruiters or people at a senior level who are trying to recruit me. So it doesn't always come from a manager or a mentor. So that was some of these big changes. And when I think about somebody who's outstanding at their job, and believe me, we're always looking out for those outstanding talent as talent acquisition partners, they are actually scouts. They are actually career coaches. They don't just think about, oh, I've got a rec to fill. They're not thinking about a pipeline I need to manage. They're thinking about how, when I'm talking to a Perry or how I'm talking to a Michelle, how am I making that interaction more value added for them? So that was a big change for us that we really made. This is kind of our internal secret about what are the things that we look at, what makes a talent acquisition partner really good. So many companies have broad competencies. We want high integrity. We want somebody who shows initiative. For me, those are just too broad. Those are things that just do not resonate. So you want to break it down into things that really matter for TA? This was our secret around it. We said, we want talent acquisition partners who really understand talent and industry. Because guess what? Each industry is different. When a person comes to me and says, I can recruit for anything, I'm a little bit skeptical. People do build in their capabilities, and that makes a difference. The second piece about it is they need to be good at sourcing and technology utilization. They need to be curious to say, what's the next best thing out there? I can verify for Seek Out. I see a lot of technologies on the horizon that are very exciting for us. That when we talk about that ATS in a box, cool. How many of us are interested in that? Or when we think about a new system, we're like, oh my God, not a new system. Something else I need to learn. Fundamentally critical to us is relationship management. I cannot stress that enough. When I think about talent acquisition partners, and I've interviewed hundreds of them through my career, some of them are outstanding at candidate relationships. They're great with candidates. Put them in front of a hiring manager, and the hiring manager goes, what were they doing? Some are really good at the hiring manager. Guess what? They don't build the relationships with the candidates. So it's that finding that person who can manage multiple relationships, both with the hiring manager as well as the candidates, and manage that well. I think that is the sweet spot where strong talent acquisition partners come through. And then the last piece, and we talked about this in bias or in some of the sessions that came before it. Who is a really, really good judge? The best talent acquisition partners are able to stand toe-to-toe with the hiring manager and actually tell them who they need to be talking to and who they need to be hiring, not the other way around. I see too many talent acquisition partners saying, hey, you did the interview, my job is done. You got 3 good candidates, you choose. The best ones are the ones who say, these are the 3 things that candidate A came with, and I really like that. And I think when I come back to the intake conversation we had, that would work for you. So how candidates are able to be assessed, I think we play a huge part, because we talk about this, gatekeepers of the organization. We are, for all of our companies, we're the ones which make it the hardest to get through. If you can get through me, then you have a great career over here. But you have to get through me first. Take that role really seriously. So with that, thank you so much. I really appreciate the time over here.